Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the April 28th Board of Selectmen's meeting. If everybody would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a public hearing this evening to receive comment regarding a proposed amendment to the Zoning Ordinance Article 3.05.02, Conditional Use and Structures. And the conditional use that is being added to this ordinance is number 11, adding up to 2 horses for a minimum land tract of 10 acres and up to 19.99 acres and up to 4 horses on a minimum land tract of 20 acres or larger. Is there anybody that would like to be heard? Okay. Seeing none, did you want to be heard, David?
No.
Okay. John's. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll close the public hearing. And then we have discuss vote to approve the proposed amendment to the Zoning Ordinance Article 3.05.02, Conditional Uses and Structures. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Moving on, under announcements, Gary, was this something that you had information about for volunteers?
Yes, it is. We very badly need volunteers to put flags on over 400 veterans' graves in Waterboro. Well over 400 as well. The cemetery committee also needs volunteers to not only be on the committee, but to perhaps adopt a cemetery like you would adopt a fire hydrant in your neighborhood. So you can call Christina or myself here in Town Hall if you're willing to help. In addition, there's a headstone cleaning workshop here if you know of anybody who's interested in helping out the cemetery committee in that fashion. That workshop will be here on May 23rd. If you're interested, just contact us at Town Hall here.
There is a $20 fee for that here.
Yep, and if it's somebody that certainly was going to be on the committee or help the town, would certainly pick up that fee. But we need help immediately so enough people can put flags out before Memorial Weekend.
I believe the cemetery committee has a meeting this next Monday at...
Coming right up.
The 11th.
Oh, is it the 11th? Okay.
Yep, May 11th.
So anybody interested in going?
Okay, thank you. Additions or deletions to the agenda. We do have 2 items that need to be added to the agenda. One is to appoint a new member of the Economic Development Committee, and the other is to vote on sending a letter regarding a personnel matter.
I will move that we add both those to the agenda, and is there a recommended spot on the agenda for that?
We'll put them under new business
Okay.
at the end.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would like to add something to the agenda as well, to have a discussion relative to football fields in the town. And its placement on the agenda is at your discretion.
Is it something that we can discuss at our next meeting so that you can get some information out to us first, or is this something that...
Well, I think this is just a preliminary step. A citizen in town and I were speaking, and it was mentioned that in any of the 6 town groups for the younger aged football players that are in these small leagues similar to the Pee Wee League and stuff like that, that there are no football fields in any of the towns with the exception of the high school football field and the practice field. They don't have any place to play, while all the towns have. He gave me a figure, and I don't happen to have it off the top of my head, of the number of softball fields and baseball fields and stuff that are present, and wondering why the town hasn't looked into at least having, a football field set up that they could use for practice in their games in the league, because there's a significant number of kids that play football.
So would that be better served for our next agenda and have our Parks and Rec director in with us?
This is totally separate from Parks and Rec. These leagues and stuff are not affiliated with the rec department at all. But if you would rather, that's fine, as long as we can get the discussion. I'll even see if I can have that person that brought this to my attention, who happens to be one of the coaches, if I can get him to come in as well.
Perfect. All right.
Okay,
But,
thank you.
if it's a town field, Mike is responsible for maintaining it,
Right.
or has been anyway. So I think he'd be a good person to have here.
So we'll stick that on the next agenda if you're
Okay.
okay with that.
I'm fine with that, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have a motion to add those 2 items to the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. No appointments, hearing a delegation. Anybody would like to speak? Okay. For correspondence, we have the treasurer's report. We have notice of Selectmen's 428 public hearing. Update on the Waterboro Community Pantry progress letter. Leavitt's Mill Free Health Center's annual spring concert info. EcoMaine recycling reports. Motor vehicle agents March 2015 report. And the annual solid waste management report. Moving on to reports and staff initiatives, we have the code enforcement officer to discuss various fees, including consent agreements. Good evening.
Good evening. Board, I appreciate your time this evening. I don't know if all of you have had a chance to read my letter of April 28th. I'll quickly go over the body of that. Waterboro, as you know, is mandated to enforce UBEC, the new state building code. I do think the town should adopt that officially, even though you're required to enforce it. It's a cleanup effort, mostly. And before I get on to inspections, the one thing the town doesn't inspect is electrical. And I'm probably going to bring this to the board before the year's out. We do everything else. But the most important thing we don't do, and that's electrical inspections for homes. The state will do commercial inspections, restaurants, and basically any commercial development. The state issues that permit and inspects that permit. But I think Waterboro should definitely issue permits and inspect residential construction. Letter of no action, I've talked about this before, my office.
Can we back up just a little bit
I will.
while we're on the electrical?
Okay,
So that's not something that we're currently undertaking.
correct.
How would that impact your time?
It may not, because a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of it, some of the inspections coincide with one another. Electrical and plumbing could be done at the same time. Yeah, it's going to impact it, no doubt. It's going to add probably 40 minutes to an inspection. But I'm not saying that I would do it either. It's, I haven't been certified in electrical inspections. I intended to, but I haven't. I would probably try to sway the town into hiring a subcontractor electrician to do that. It's a little more expensive, but it erases the liability for the town. It's a hot topic issue for a lot of towns, and it has to be adopted by a municipal vote. So it's so the language has to be in place, but I think it's important enough to pursue. We inspect septic systems, we inspect plumbing, we inspect insulation, we inspect framing. All of those things can't kill anybody. Electricity can, but we don't inspect them. It just doesn't make any sense.
Eric?
My 2 cents would be to hire a master electrician to take that job, not to have Glenn do it.
Yeah.
That way you don't have that training component and updating and knowledge of the code. He's knowledgeable, but not a master electrician, and that's how I would do it.
Yeah, and I would side with Gary. And a lot of the towns, the fee associated with electrical permit pays for that inspection. So yeah, it's another fee. It's another fee. It's another regulation. Unlike a driveway entrance or a permit. I just think it's an important fee, and I can't imagine anybody building a new house that doesn't expect this town to inspect their electrical work. In fact, more often than not, they're surprised that I don't. So our certificate of occupancy presently says everything is inspected but electrical work.
Okay.
So that covers the town if something should happen. But I'm still getting my ducks in a row, and I'll be presenting that to the board
Okay.
before the end of the year.
Very good.
The consent agreement, we're going to need more time to discuss that. I've got some language on page 2 of the April 28th letter. That's going to be a tough thing to get to grasp. I think the town should at least recover legal issues, which is what we did the last time. Some of the situations are not created by the people that are in front of the board. They're from previous owners. So there has to be a little bit of leniency, but someone's got to cover that legal cost. And I quoted a statute at the bottom of that same letter, which states the contractor has just as much liability as the homeowner. So we have to keep that in mind when that consent agreement is drafted, and who establishes the fault and all that stuff. So I'm still working on that, I guess.
Okay.
But we keep finding them. We find them by accident, and a lot of them are $1, $5, and I think that just has to stop. We need criteria, which you folks know. It's just coming up with that map.
Okay.
We up to 12 now?
Yeah. And we're going to find more. Dennis projected that we would find more in a particular subdivision, and no sooner did he say that than that we found one.
Magic.
Yeah, it's magic. The fees. I also included a list of what I have to inspect, which ranges from 15 to 17, depending on a residential or commercial application. I think, so we're spending $300 to $400 range to inspect a home, plus mileage. Our fees don't cover that. So I've given you a list of what I think they should be. The current fees are in black. The new fees I propose are in red. And these are only fees that my office is associated with. There might be some others in there that I don't know about. And if we jump right down to the code enforcement section, we'd be looking at increasing the residential permit to $6 per thousand. It's currently $4. And the commercial building to $8 per thousand, and it's currently $6. $8 per thousand for commercial development is pretty inexpensive. Your reinspection fee that has happened, currently we charge $50, and that fee is not in the books. I brought that with me because I was getting tired of going in Alfred. I was getting tired of doing reinspection for cases where the contractor should know better. And this is the same thing. I think $100 is a small amount to pay to have me go back to do a reinspection when I shouldn't even have to go back.
So that would be, if you go, you do an inspection, you find a deficiency that needs to be corrected, the
Yep.
$100 would be for you to go back out.
That's
and
correct.
Once that's
Not just inefficiencies, but if they're not ready. A lot of times they want me to schedule ahead, and I just don't do that because I know what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not ready, and I have to go back. Sometimes it's an inefficiency, and I have to go back. Someone needs to pay for that besides the taxpayers of this town. And $100 is a small amount of money, I think.
Okay.
Certificate of occupancy is the same thing.
Gary had a question.
These fees are not in the zoning ordinance. correct?
They're not.
This is just a list that the selectmen
Yeah,
are in
correct.
charge of.
Correct. In the, I don't know what the charter says, but
No, it's here.
it is.
Yeah.
So I'm used to the board
Right.
reviewing these on a yearly basis, and I don't know when the last time these were reviewed. Been a while. The penalties, I think we should move right to the statute, which allows $100 minimum and $2,500 maximum for each violation per day. And I think currently I think the maximum is at $100 in the ordinance right now.
But state statute would allow that to go to 2,500.
Absolutely, you
So-
can.
If we
It's-
change it, why wouldn't we just, if that is in the section, then the zoning ordinance would have to be changed.
Right.
So section 1202, why wouldn't we just say consistent with MRSA section,
30-A, 4452,
Whatever,
whatever that statute is.
and that number then becomes consistent with state law?
Right,
And as state law changes or whatnot, we don't have to keep going back and,
correct.
okay.
Highway access permit, so the current fee is $25 across the board. I think $25 is a reasonable fee for a residential driveway permit. Seems that we're increasing the building permit anyway. I just thought if we kept the 25 would be fine and then up the commercial side of it. The subdivision, I guess, let me find my place here. Okay, planning board, site plan review. If you go to the site plan review, the equations in the old fee structure seem confusing to me, and I recommend just to have a 25-cent per square foot fee for site plan review, regardless of it's residential or commercial.
25 cent per square
square
foot of the
foot.
building or the property?
Of the building.
Because the site plan, it takes into account the driveway application and the whole works. It's not just simply the building. When they do a site plan review, it's not just for the building, it's for the site.
Yep,
Right?
okay.
So I'm just,
Yeah, so we might have to change the square foot to dollar value.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, if you look
Yep,
at,
that's a good point.
yeah.
Okay.
Or at least change it to the footprint of structures.
And I thought we had gone through
Yep.
site plan, the site plan,
We haven't redone that since
Process.
I've been here.
yeah, but I mean, 3 years ago, I think Tom brought that before us and we changed guess what you need to look at, the latest revision and what those prices were, and I think there was a recommendation going in what they were, but.
Well, the current site plan review, the dollar amounts are based on the square foot.
Mhm.
And it's not identified if it's per building or
Right,
if it's.
and I think that's the only reason, I didn't just think of that, it was
Yeah,
something
something,
that we raised
something's
back when
making
we
you
went
think
through
of
this
that.
before,
Okay,
right?
all right,
Not that fast.
yeah. These, well, Gary's,
How are these fees comparable with other municipalities? Are we
well,
pretty consistent?
we are, yeah, we're still on the low side compared to the bigger cities like, Sanford and Biddeford. Sanford and Biddeford get pretty high cost, high fees for site plan review and planning board review. But I just didn't want to give the town sticker shock, it's I'm kind of trying to keep the fees balanced
There's a
with
fee
the
structure.
population and the land use of Waterboro. We're not a city. Sanford just became a city. So we need to be higher than Lyman and Alfred and Leamington, but not quite as high as Biddeford and Sanford. And I think these fees are kind of like in between.
There's gonna be some.
Thank you.
Just, how many visits would building a house, how many visits would this entail usually?
13.
How many?
13.
13. So all this is separate visits. You can't do,
Well-
you can't do 2 or 3 things in one visit?
I try to. The only 2 that I can possibly do is plumbing and framing.
Yeah.
Foundation, for instance, I go before they pour the footing. There's nothing else to look at. So I go again to look at the foundation before they pour it. There's nothing else to look at. So a lot of these, there's nothing else that I can really combine to look at because of the nature of the building.
Whose onus is it to schedule these visits? Is it the contractor to call you and set them up, or do you need to call the contractor?
No, the contractors call my office
Okay.
and set up a time. Did you find anything?
In the site plan, there is a reference, second to the last page, it talks about administration.
Separate
second to
schedule
last
of
page.
fees.
Each application shall pay a filing fee in the amount determined by the current town site plan application fee structure. So that's gotta be somewhere, it's not attached to this. And I
Okay.
think the reason it's not part of the site plan was that we wouldn't have to go through the exercise of public hearing and everything else for this, changing the site plan, we just changed the fees. But I don't know where the fees are,
Okay.
there should be an attachment.
I think we changed them, last time I remember doing this as Patty was still here.
Yeah, and I think it was we changed, this was amended in 2009, so it was not long after Tom was here.
Might be right on the website.
Yeah, that's true. I have to, I gotta turn my computer back the other way.
The planning board fees are the same thing. If you look on the paper that has all the black numbers on it, there's quite a few items there that are priced individually. Most towns, and on the page with the red numbers, most towns have a single price. And I propose $450 for or $150 for a land use review, $450 for a subdivision review, and this would include a cluster subdivision, any subdivision, $450. Commercial development would be the same price. And of course, all these fees include the cost of mailings and advertising by the applicant. Zoning Board of Appeals, eventually we're going to be using those folks more often as 208 gets changed. Any appeal of variance heard by the zoning board would be $330.
What was the genesis of that number? Just compare the towns around.
Because it's there already. It's in our ordinance already. The $330 for the ZBA,
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No change.
no change.
That was just recently changed. A couple years ago, we increased the ZBA fee because we couldn't cover the the advertising. I'm not sure when that was done, but.
Well, I don't have that statement on the ZBA, but all the applications say the applicant is responsible for mailings and advertising. I know there's a lot of stuff here to absorb.
If the fees are on the website, it's not obvious that they're on the website.
Oh, okay.
In the consent agreement, it seems like we have time on the page with the red information. A violation of shoreline or resource protection should be $1,000 minimum, I think. People should be doing their due diligence in researching what the requirements are in that district. And I think that depending on what it is, they should be required to correct that violation. In some instances, it could be very difficult, but I think the board should make it clear that that is an option for the board to take. I think the $200 penalty, and the $300 penalty shouldn't even be considered in today's day and age.
I think sometimes we look at it, that, you know, this has been through 2 refinances and this and that, and it's been bought and sold, and nobody found it, and then all of a sudden somebody finds
Right.
it. That doesn't mean that it wasn't there to begin with,
That's
right?
true, that's true.
So I think sometimes we kind of
Yep. And that's the
acquiesce to the
flexibility.
fact that, well, we didn't find it before, but the fact of the matter is it's a violation of zoning.
Yeah,
And then we've had other cases where we have made people tear down structures.
that's right, and I've seen those. I mean, there have been penalties by the town of up to $3,000, and that was in shoreline.
I think there was one that was $9,000.
Really?
That was in Shoreline of Porch,
Yeah,
a deck. We made them tear it down,
Yeah.
and we actually had to go to court for it.
Yeah.
But
And they
I
put
think
it
the
back.
fine was about $9,000 on that
We
one.
did a $12,000 fine on the building permit that, on the lake. When there was a stop work order and then they
Oh,
continued
yep,
on.
yep. They continued
and
on,
they
yep.
continued it, really?
Huh?
And they continued the work anyway?
Yeah. With directions to the contractor that they'd pay the fine, whatever it was.
Yeah,
So,
I hear stories like that all the time.
Well, we certainly want to have some teeth,
Yeah,
because we don't want people just willy-nilly going about and doing what they want, thinking, oh, I'm gonna go in, I'll just pay a fine, and I'm gonna get what I want. So
right.
I think consistency definitely needs, as much as we can be consistent, I think that needs to be there. But
As
I
much
think,
as you legally can,
Right.
absolutely.
but I think that we also understand that sometimes people are just kind of the innocent victim of,
Yep.
you know, a property that they've bought, and so I think we need to make sure that we still have some flexibility and the ability to use our compassion
Right.
when it's just.
And you proved that with the last one that came to the board. You know, they weren't the people at fault. You know, they paid the legal fees, but that's where it stopped, and it was previous owners that caused the hardship, so.
you deal with this more than, I guess, the layperson, so you may know the answer. Doesn't title insurance, if they get that, would that be something that might cover that because it wasn't adequately researched?
That's exactly right. We had a case come in today, same situation. The guy wanted to give the property to his son, and a mortgage survey has come back that has said the property is not in compliance. So he brings in a deed, and the deed doesn't tell me anything, because it doesn't give the setbacks and it doesn't give the year the structure was built. So I asked him if he had title insurance. He says yes. And I said, well, then that's who you need to go to. You need to go to the title insurance and see what is covered. Tried to determine when the structure was built. If it was built prior to town ordinances, then it's a grandfathered situation and it's a mute issue. But until he proves to this office that it's prior to Waterboro's ordinances, he is in non-compliance, and that will be somebody else that will come to the board. I wasn't making him happy, but those are the facts. But yeah, title insurance should take care of that.
Gary?
Wouldn't that be just for him to be reimbursed from any fine from this board, though?
Yes,
Cost, right.
the cost.
Cost associated with
Yeah.
fixing it, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
But I think there's a bigger message in what Gordon just said, whether you call it title insurance. Anyone that is buying or refinancing or whatnot really needs to be diligent in the fact of, you know, if you're buying a house and there's not a mortgage survey, I'm not sure that, you know, I guess my advice is don't buy it unless you have a mortgage
Yeah.
survey, right? Because you're gonna be held with the non-compliance if anything's found in the future. And I don't think, you know, I mean, I don't know how they get by that,
I don't either.
especially with all the rule changes and everything else with mortgages. Not sure how they get by it.
So it's an ongoing issue, and it's probably never going to stop in this town. We just try to make it better from here on in.
No, and years ago, before, when code officers here, and it still, I think, happens all over the state, where a code office gives a letter of non-enforcement, which doesn't hold any water
Correct.
anyway.
Yep, correct.
That's why we started doing consent orders. But up until that time, you're exactly right, a contractor or someone would build a house and they go, we just go to the code office and get an after the fact, letter of non-enforcement.
Yep.
And, that was done a lot.
Yep, I bet it was. Any further questions on the fees? Do I have a few more minutes?
You do.
I'm going to fill you in a little bit on Lotta. Natalie has repaired court papers, and she's been instructed to serve him with court papers, only because it takes about 30 days for the courts to set a date. I didn't want her to do that after June 13th, which would automatically give him another 30 days. So he'll receive court papers probably this week or the first of next. He'll be served papers with a court date, which can be unplugged at the last minute. He is not moving in any direction with compliance. I had Roger Nagy, who is a detective for the Department of Motor Vehicles, out there with me Friday. Roger gave him a warning, state warning. So he was getting battered pretty severely Friday. I don't know if it's going to do any good, but he isn't moving in the right direction presently. We went to D&D Auto, which is behind the milk room. He's moving a little bit faster than Lotta. He'll be coming to the planning board here in another 2 weeks for a conditional use for the garage. And he's had illegal vehicles there, and those are gone. He's cleaning up the yard, so he is trying to comply. Mike Morris, myself, and Tammy went to Boza Campground. I hadn't walked that site at all. I ran out of time. I'll have to go back another day. He's got some subsurface waste disposal infractions, obviously shoreline infractions. I don't know what direction that's going to go in. I really don't. I just don't know yet. It's too early in the game.
That's coming back to the planning board, not just to you.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Mike Morris, who is works for Shoreline Division of DEP, will be ready to make his final decision here in 2 or 3 days. And that'll help give the code enforcement office a direction to go in.
Okay, good. All right.
That's all I
So
have.
we need to have a future agenda item to talk about these fees,
Yep.
increasing the fees, so we'll,
It sounds like a workshop thing, because there's some complexity, I think.
There is some complexity to it.
so I think we need to talk about that a little bit more. We need to talk about the UBEC a little bit more.
Yep.
So why don't we plan on getting you in here for a workshop in the very near future, and if
Sounds
you've got
good.
some other tickler things that kind of come up between now and
Sure.
then, let's plan a good session.
All right, sounds
Okay?
good.
All right.
Thank you.
Glenn, before you run off,
Yes.
let's talk about lake shore frontage and tree harvesting.
Yeah.
It's very obvious that there have been numerous folks that have taken down more than what's allowed in the shoreland zone. Is there a way to go back now and look at maybe aerial photos that were done 5-10 years ago, and then look at what there is today? And it's very obvious that someone has removed in excess of, I mean, I just don't know, because I know that probably happens more than we think. I'm not sure when the last time any of us have ridden around the lake to look at things, or any of the lakes, for that matter. But
Yeah.
it's not just Ospey, but I mean,
It's-
there's certainly been some significant
There has.
movement with people that are doing year-round conversions
Yeah.
and whatnot. There seems to be a belief that while you're doing that, you can take whatever trees block your view
Yeah.
to the lake down to.
Well, the word is getting out about the new sheriff in town, I guess, if you want to say that. It's they're calling about what these new regulations are. DP has just put forth a new Chapter 1000, which governs shoreline zoning. This is effective January 20th, 2015. So there are new regulations in place, and I had a class at webinar here last week, and I asked the question, how far back in time can you cite people? And she said there is no end
Statute
date.
of limitations?
She says when you see the violation, that's when the violation begins. So you can require them to revegetate. In fact, I'm looking at a place tomorrow. We have, I don't know, probably 8 permits that are within shoreline, and none of them are in compliance. And I'm meeting with 2 tomorrow to go over a revegetation plan, because I'm going to require it before they get a certificate of occupancy. I guess I'm an advocate for resource protection, because it's our kids' future lake, I guess. So yeah, there's no statute of limitations. It's I guess it depends on how much the town wants to spend on legal fees, if it comes to that.
And the ability to prove it, I guess, back in time, so.
And the ability to prove it.
You know, I know Patty had been looking at a violation, and she actually contacted Google. And Google was able to give her Google Maps 5 or 10 years prior to when she thought the violation was.
Really?
And so I know she was able
Interesting.
to get some of those back aerials.
I'll have to talk to her about that.
Even the state, I think, has,
The
the
state
state geological
and the
study.
county.
Yeah, well, I've used some of that for the Boza campground. You know, we've gone back 6 years to see, you know, where the clearing has started and where the campsites have been. So that's doable. But the fact that you can go back anytime, if they have grass going right to the lake, it's a violation, pure and simple.
Good.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to delay you, but that was,
How do we differentiate between, let's say, a weather occurrence and a deliberate act of cutting the tree?
Yeah.
I mean, when we look at a photo, it could be that maybe lightning struck that, or high winds blew the tree over,
Yep.
and they just cleaned it up, versus,
but it's not just one tree, Gordon, I think it's 30%, you can take 30%, right?
You're
Something
allowed
of
to
that
take
nature.
30% of the life.
So, if lightning struck more than 30% of the trees, you're right, maybe
Yeah.
it was a weather act, but when there's 40-50% of them gone, I would suggest that was probably a man-made weather action.
It's pretty easy to determine, really, you know, if they have a short frontage of 100 feet and grass spans that 100 feet and it goes right to the shoreline, you know, that's a violation. And revegetation is not expensive. You buy some native trees and you plant them along the shoreline. It's all about keeping the phosphorus from entering the lake. That's what it's all about, and preventing erosion.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's another topic that we could have for a
I
workshop.
could come up with a pile of topics.
Well, those would go well together to
Yep.
have a.
Yeah.
So why don't you and I will get together in the
Okay.
near future and kind of come up with sort of an agenda for a workshop,
Yep.
and we'll plan an evening.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Glenn.
just one quick note, in your travels in South Waterboro down 202, if you were to happen to glance to your right in the area of the coffee shop down there, and take a look at a particular dwelling that seems to have an excessive amount of material in the front, side, and the rear of that building, it would be, I think, perhaps two buildings before the Lions Center,
Okay.
as you're going towards South Waterboro.
I know what you're talking about.
And,
There are numerous properties like that in Waterboro.
that's on the main thoroughfare coming
Yeah,
in
and that's where I'm concentrating on, the main thoroughfares
into
of town.
town. I mean, if people come in here or visiting and passing through, look at that, and I just think it's a poor representation of what
Mhm.
the town of Waterboro is all about.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. I'm going to take the agenda a little bit out of order because we have 2 items under new business that we have to discuss and decide on by 7 p.m. And that is the discuss vote to approve a question at the June 9th election to approve the comprehensive plan, and the election to approve the salt sand shed. We have to approve those and have those to the town clerk before 7 p.m. So,
Maybe Joe, just a question, Dick,
I'd like to present a small presentation, just about 10 minutes maybe. Is that be okay?
we need to do this first.
Well, that's okay.
And,
I'll wait, you know,
okay.
but can I do it? That's
Sure.
what I'm asking. Okay, thanks.
What's the subject, sir?
Route 5.
All right, so Gary, Christina handed out to us, you should have a piece of paper that looks like this. And we have question number 1, shall the town authorize the issuance of up to $700,000 in general obligation bonds or notes of the town to pay and reimburse the cost of design, construct, and equip a sand salt shed to be located next to the town's public works garage, hereby authorized and appropriated with details of such bonding, including provisions that the bonds may be prepaid or subject to call for redemption with or without premium, and the dates, maturities, denominations, and interest rates to be determined by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen recommend ought to pass, and the Budget Committee did not formally vote on this issue.
I will move that we vote ought to pass.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion?
this is gonna be a referendum question?
Yes.
I think this question, Madam Chair, is pretty important to have, on the warrant or on the referendum because of the amount of salt that is ordered each year and because we lack the storage capacity to handle that and the weather elements naturally run that off. So we have two issues. We have a depleting supply of salt because of the weather conditions, and secondly, we have an overabundance of salt leaching into the areas where this is stored.
And we have a third point to this, in that this is going to cap the lagoons and satisfy DEP's desires
In fact,
with what we
DEP
do with
recommends
that.
They're
Absolutely.
100% behind that because it will contribute to the environmental safety down in that area. So I think it's important for the residents of the town to know that there are some significant economic factors, that it's to the town's benefit to have this salt and sand shed there.
So we have a motion, second, any other discussion? All those in favor? Okay, and referendum question number 2, shall the town approve the 2020 comprehensive plan as recommended by the 2020 Master Planning Committee?
I move that we recommend acceptance of the 2020 plan.
Okay,
I'll second that as well.
Question.
the question, we don't make a recommendation on this one.
Okay.
It's just, do we approve putting this on?
Yeah, and I said approve the, okay. All right,
Unlike
yeah, putting
question
it on the
Okay.
ballot,
And
yeah.
Gordon, you're still okay with that second?
Yes,
Okay.
for the placement of this on the ballot.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, so we can let, that's done. All right, so back up to reports and staff initiatives, selectmen's reports. Dennis?
Not much other than, last week, Board of Directors at EcoMaine approved this coming year's budget. I think everything is squared away there. You'll notice in the recycling reports that we're kind of stagnated around 18-19% recycling. We're in the kind of the bottom third of the group that gets measured with regard to that. And if you look at everybody that does more recycling than us, they have one of two things. They have mandatory recycling as a municipality, or they have curbside pickup where they pick up recycling and waste, household waste. So those are the municipalities that are in the 40 percentile range for recycling. So there comes a point where I think we have to make a determination if we're gonna move forward with driving recycling in this community. There's gonna have to be some effort made to either, number one, make it mandatory, or number two, go to some sort of a curbside pickup. And it's interesting because the discussion I had with folks from Cumberland and whatnot who have multiple private entities like Arrowhead, they have permission from those entities to travel on town ways with the contractor that picks up the curbside. And they literally go into those private roads and pick up. So I thought that was an interesting twist on. We always talk about, well, we really can't do curbside because, you know, how do we pick up on all of those roads up in
Private
Lake Arrowhead?
ways.
Private ways, yeah. So, anyway, that's all I have.
What needs to happen to get the information to look at those three options and so that the transfer station committee can make a recommendation?
I think they did make a recommendation, what, a year or so ago?
You've already done it and undone it, so.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything concrete about curbside pickup or mandatory recycling.
Well, I think everybody gets scared with curbside pickup because we talk about, gee, how are we gonna pick up Lake Arrowhead? And I think, you know, there are some communities that have an answer to that. They have a contractual obligation that's signed by those entities that say that we will allow the municipality or the contractor selected by the municipality to pick up curbside in those sites. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long while, and we've been down the road in the past, of course, but you know,
Yeah,
are we serious about taking that step?
the third option, which I really didn't explore, which we have before here, is the paper bag.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, you look at Gorham and some of those, and if you drive through Gorham during trash day, you'll see the purple bags and all of that. You know, they're 33, 34%. So,
John?
2020 committee is hard at work. I mean, they are coming down to the final sprint. Met last night from 5:15 to past 8:30, and going to meet tomorrow night. I just want right now the Economic Development Center chapter, rather, has gone to the printer, and the Future Land Use Planning chapter is at the printer and should be ready this week. So it's happening. I would like to emphasize to people out there that this has been a 5-year effort. And we have some extensive work. You know, we have over 1,000 pages of recommendations in the chapters that have been created. What we can't do, unfortunately, is bring that into town meeting because it's seen as selling something that's being voted on as a candidate is not allowed to put up posters within 250 yards of town meeting. We can't put the display up either.
Election day, John.
Election day,
Not
excuse
town
me,
meeting.
not town meeting, election day, I'm sorry. So with that in mind, we have two opportunities for people to see what the work that has been done and ask questions on it, and that's going to be on the 13th, Wednesday night, at 6 o'clock at the fire station, and again on the 16th, Saturday morning at 10 o'clock at the Grange Hall. So it's really it's pretty impressive what this group has done.
Gordon?
Everything sweet and Hampshire.
Okay. A couple things that I have is, we met, 12-town group met a few weeks ago, and we continued our conversation regarding broadband, fiber optic internet. And This has a lot of attention at a state level. There are currently 30 bills in the legislation regarding the broadband that are going to be discussed. There's a couple that are better than the others, and it looks like perhaps a variation of the two better ones are going to come together. And it appears that that may be the bill that ends up going forward. As a collaborative group, if the 12 town wanted to create a work plan for our communities, there's $15,000 in 12 town group funds that could be used to help fund a study. Right now, the emphasis at the state level really is focusing on northern Maine and the larger cities. And the small towns like the Waterboros and Limericks and Alfords and Arundels are kind of being left out of those discussions. So we need to make sure that we're included in the discussions that are being held about this broadband. And it was interesting that GWI noted that 40% of all internet traffic is Netflix. Right now, there's only one company that is doing work studies in Maine pertaining to broadband, and that's Tilson out of Portland. And right now they're charging about $20,000 per town to do a study. One of the things that I suggested was that we need to do a survey first to see if there's an interest in our areas for residents to have this, because ultimately going to this broadband costs about $50,000 a mile. So with Southern Maine Regional Planning, as well as the 12 town group and some other folks, we're going to create a survey that's going to be available for folks to fill out online. We're also going to create a fact sheet that has all the information about the super speed broadband, and we'll have those fact sheets done in time for the 12 town groups that are having town meetings to be able to hand those out at town meetings with information. So by the time we have our town meeting in Waterboro, we'll have that fact sheet that we can share with people about what it is, what the benefits are, and what the costs involved are, and see if we actually have an interest within our communities for this. The budget committee, your county budget committee, has been elected, and we are going to begin our work on Wednesday, May 6th. We'll be meeting with Greg Zinsser, who's the county manager, and getting our preliminary information and asking any questions that we may have. And then the following week, May 13th, is when we'll really get down to going through the budget. And lastly, I'd like to mention that Governor LePage was in town last night at the fire station. Definitely want to thank the folks at the fire station, Gary, Christina, who played a large part in making sure that everything was ready for his visit. He stayed for just a little over an hour. He made a presentation about his proposed budget and then gave folks the opportunity to ask any questions. Probably had about 100 or so folks that were there. And I thought it was well run. I thought it was very respectful. And I thought that it was just an interesting evening to listen to him speak.
Madam Chair, if I could, I'd like to extend or add one other person to that list of people that worked on that, and that would be our IT director,
Oh, how could I
Dave
forget?
Lowe.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some a lot of equipment set up there. It took a lot of time to get that, and as far as I know, worked flawlessly. And I believe that that's going to be available to view
By tomorrow morning.
by tomorrow morning. So if you happen to have missed it and you would like to see what the discussion was about, feel free to fire up your computer and watch it.
Are we going to have some broadcasts of it playing on public TV?
Yes,
Good.
both on the government channel and the public access channel. And they're gonna ship a copy to Portland too, because they thought it was pretty interesting, so it's gonna get around.
Chief Boers and the fire crews too washed all the trucks extra fine, washed the floor, and was actually out there sweeping the parking lot. You know?
I think Waterboro was well represented last night. Moving on, town administrators report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and any kudos you can throw to me about the organization for last night should go right to the fire department and that man in the corner right there, because I did a tiny amount of bit of work compared to what he did, so thank you. As a general update, the work on the town warrant is about 99% complete. We've got to do some final check on the LD1 number and any other formatting concerns that you may have when we get together next to actually talk about the warrant itself, town meeting warrant. The two municipal questions we've addressed this evening, and you have before you an update on, I think that was passed out. If not, I'll just give it for the folks back home. So far, and the papers will close in another 5 minutes. For our 3-year selectman seat, completed papers are from Gordon Littlefield, Peter McHugh III, and Dwayne Prescott. We have completed papers for the 2-year term vacated by Senator Woodsum, and that being Tim Neal, Dwayne Woodsum, and Ted Doyle just brought his in this afternoon. We have one RSU 57 vacancy and 2 people running, Michael Hayes and Rebecca Roy. And then David Benton turned his completed papers in for the Water District this afternoon also. So that's good. Good competition for upcoming elections. Concerning the food pantry, I see Cleo's here tonight. I wanted to give a general update. She and I had spoken some time ago, and they're pursuing a survey of the town hall property.
Which is in process right now.
Yep. I tasked them with doing a video inspection of the old septic system next to the town hall to see if that's even viable, and do some type of an assessment of the well that was over there servicing that residence as well. And after this information is collected, and when they have at least the start of a viable site plan, then they would come back to Selectmen for further discussion. We would start talking about the lease and other things from there when we go to the planning board and all that type of thing. So there's a lot of things to do, but they've done a lot so far. They've got their 501c3 in play.
And we also have Atlantic Waters that they came today, but the pump wasn't working, so they're coming back within a couple of days to check that out. Colin Canning is checking the septic this weekend. And Dana Libby from Conoco Surveying, he's already working on the survey.
Great.
And like that. And we need to get the lease ready because right now
we don't have the food pantry on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
So what you need to do is anything that you need to work direct through Gary.
Okay.
And work with Gary, and then when it's a complete project and ready to come to the board, then we'll get you on an agenda.
Okay. Because we have some heavy donors that are waiting for us to have our lease on the land because they don't want to donate unless we're sure we're going to have the
Right.
lease.
Okay.
So that's kind
So
of...
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But thank you, Cleo.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see, continuing on here. I'm hopeful that town meeting will approve this change to town planning services and economic development staff assistance with Southern Maine Regional Planning providing those people. The senior planner at Southern Maine Planning and Development will be Lee J. Feldman. He will actually be attending the May and the early June planning board meeting to listen to the issues there and participate, and he's going to be working closer with Tom Russia in transitioning over by the end of June. Excuse me. Chuck Morgan will be working with the Economic Development Committee in Economic Development Committee work. And the only other thing, we've said several other things that have already been talked about. Candidates night is Thursday, May 14th, here in this room. And the only other thing is I'm on vacation, kind of a working vacation, but through late next Tuesday, I'll be coming to Town Hall every night on my way back to Portland, taking a class and checking in on messages and doing whatever. So text and email would be good for the next 5 days. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary. Mr. Sidney?
I'm going to read this off because I'm not a public speaker, so it'll probably sound better, I hope. Okay. Whoops, I put the wrong sheet in there. It's about Route 5 over here, and it's, in Waterboro, we have a dangerous section of Route 5 that should be an area to focus on. I went to the DOT meeting on March 30th in Sanford, and I went there to express my concern, and I hope it's a concern for all of you. I brought forward the dangerous situation that exists on Route 5 in Waterboro. It has been a concern of mine since I talked to a fellow who had just been hit by a car mirror while riding a bike on Route 5 near Eon Way. Many people walk on this stretch of road between North Waterboro Post Office and Dunkin' Donuts, and kids ride their bikes along that road often. Again, the section of road is from North Waterboro Post Office to Dunkin' Donuts in East Waterboro. That section of road has 2 schools, 2 restaurants, convenience store, dangerous intersection, boat launch, campground, and other businesses. This section of road does not have a paved shoulder, not even on one side, so people can walk or ride a bike in safety. Route 5 has paved shoulders from North Waterboro Post Office to the Limerick line, and a paved shoulder from East Waterboro to Bedford. We need to have the connection between North Waterboro Post Office to East Waterboro for a paved shoulder for the safety of people around the schools and businesses. So what do you think? Is this a safety issue that can be fixed? I hope all of you select persons will agree with me and support the idea that a paved shoulder is a safety issue and needs to be done. What do you think?
Well, as somebody who walks on Route 5 from Silas Brown Road to Chadbourne Ridge Road, it's just my normal walking route.
Yes.
It's like taking my life in my own hands every time I do it.
My wife was walking for a while, but she got a sore foot, so she just started again. And she wants me to walk with her. I said, no way. When a big truck goes by, it almost blows you over. And the soft shoulder is full of rocks and everything. So, but anyway, nobody can ride a bicycle on there, and they ride in the road, and we have a lot of commercial trucks coming down that section of road, and it really would benefit the town to have that, a paved shoulder at least at one side. And I talked to, when I went to that meeting, I talked to Dan Stewart, who's the government office planning for this section of the state. And he says he was going to look into it. So maybe somebody here could encourage that to happen. And you got a nice paved shoulder on 202 all the way through to Sanford on 202. And Route 5 has a lot of paved shoulder after it goes through Limerick. But it'd be nice to have, because we have businesses, and like I say, we got 2 schools on that road, and the kids could ride their bikes or whatever. I know they don't do that too much today, but has anybody got any comments?
I've got a lot of comments. I mean, then Senator Willis Lord, this was his major project 25 years ago. And it has been on the radar ever since. 12-town group, we talked about that, to see if, I brought it up to see if other towns would jump in with us here, even though it doesn't mean a lot to them. It's on the radar screen for sure, and I'm happy you brought it up again, but I think talking to Senator Woodson, and
I have talked to him about it too.
And Dwayne Prescott too, Representative Prescott, to really start hitting this in Augusta. So we need to, I think we need to do is we need to hit the Department of Transportation and really start shaking people's.
Well, there was one voice that went to the meeting for this here, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I'm hoping when they fixed the road last year, was it last year or the year before, but I was disappointed that they didn't put some sort of apron or paved shoulder on one side of the road for pedestrians. Or it's almost like in the middle of the town now, you know what I mean? It's just leaving the town, but I think it's something that the town really's got to get onto and do.
Yeah.
We certainly have had our conversations
Oh, yeah.
with DOT, and they haven't always been very favorable for the town. I think we still, and I actually have this as an agenda item in the future. Do we have any recourse for Old Alfred Road? They paved it last year. It's supposed to last us 7 to 10 years, and we had to invest money, and it's pulling apart. So, you know,
But that meeting was to see what the state could do, the Department of Transportation, to improve bike paths and things like that nature and other hazardous locations in the state. And so they took notes, and maybe I'm hoping that somebody with some authority would go and kind of prod them a little bit and see what happens.
well, maybe what we could do is just kind of follow up your comments with a letter from the town.
Yeah, I can give you my notes here, I wrote down, and you can extract from, I got Dan Stewart's email and his telephone number, and you can do what you wish, I
Great.
guess.
Okay, thank
Be a
you.
letter from the selectmen again. you
Yep.
know.
I think when they look at that, they're gonna have to look at both sides, because if they only do one side, they're gonna run afoul, I think, of state law with respect to bicyclists needing to operate with the flow of traffic, and for
Yeah.
pedestrians to walk facing traffic. So if you only do one side, you're
Well, you know,
compromising one or the other.
the thing today, bike lanes are a thing that's coming around.
Yeah.
And they, a lot of times in some towns, the bike lane's only on one side of the road, so.
Ferry Road Saco.
Does this board have any history with looking at the right-of-way? I mean, I'm sure in places, right down by the lake, the right-of-way is not wide enough for them to do that. It's a great idea, I
Well,
support
they
it.
have shoulder now, and it's soft dirt. They could harden that up with a surface, and with the white line, it should help. You know what I mean? So it's all a matter of paving what they have already, that's in my book, but maybe it's not, but,
But one of the things there too is even if there's a short period where you don't have the extra wide, the speed limit is reduced with caution signs. When you go, when you get out past the
intersection at North Waterboro.
the middle school and you get out toward North Waterboro, people are going 60.
That's right.
You know, at least some of them. And it's pretty scary to be riding a bicycle on.
Well, it's the same with the Old Alfred Road. There's nobody that goes 35 on that road.
Old Alfred Road's a
Uh,
different.
I use my cruise control there.
That's what I do too. That's what I do.
Old Alfred Road's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
There was grant funding available for, under the Safe Routes to School Act for sidewalks, and we did have a plan in place, but town voters rejected it at town meeting. So, we have been looking at these issues. We're cognizant that there are safety concerns within the community, and we're trying to take steps to correct those, but
I don't recall, because I didn't take notes, but apparently there is some grants available if the town wants to pay 20% of the cost. So, I don't know, you'd have to talk to this fellow. I got Dan Stewart, and he may be able to bring you up to date on any money from the federal government. Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to me.
thank you for coming in.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, conduct the quarterly budget review. I'm just passing it.
So you wanna take that back?
This is going to be a little bit redundant, I guess. Why don't we start with the expense side, and you can just go right down the highlighted items in the expense report. If you go to page 2. Same answer as before. Our property casualty liability insurance was just under budgeted. A little bit on property casualty liability was quite a bit under, almost $1,000 under, so that hasn't changed since the 6-month report here. And please just stop me if you have questions on each of these items. Other than that, I'll just keep going. On page 3, the IT budget, same answer here in terms of why the salary line is up over the 75% figure for the third quarter. David took some vacation time that one can do. It was bought out in December because he didn't use it, and that's a benefit that employees can do, and that's why that's over the 75% level. Page 5, code officer needed some books, and I think he should have those, so that line's overspent. I don't think we need to spend much time there. Page 7, recreation. Same answer there as before, the electricity from last fall down at the Lions Field. Put that line way over already before additional bills came in. Page 8, the lodging line in the planning department. We booked a conference quite some time ago before present staffing changes were, I guess, solidified, so that's up slightly. Page 9, fire. A substantial change there to that line under the building repairs and maintenance. We had 3 separate heating situations this fall down at the fire station. Propane tank actually froze up, and there wasn't getting any fuel into the building because it was under snow, which means it was warmer. Don't ask me to explain the physics of that. It cost us nearly $800 for 3 trips with a variety of contractors. We also paid somebody $500 to come down and blow, mostly blowing, and remove snow around that tank so we could get to it. The garage, a spring broke in the garage door, overhead door, the $250, and then a big item, which was down at South Station, a power surge caused over $3,000 worth of damage. And we got $2,500 of that back from insurance, but we had to pay the first $1,000 deductible. Zapped the generator, the motor on the overhead door, and some other things that had to be replaced. So that's the cause for that fire station overage there. And moving up to page 12.
Mr. Administrator,
Yep.
on that, during the repair phase, was precautionary measures taken so that if there was a strike down there again, that it would go to ground instead of to all the...
David, you have some information on that?
Yeah, I heard Captain Burton was talking about that. He said they did do something for grounding that now.
But this was a power surge and not a lightning strike, which is worse. It came in through the good line.
Yeah, they did.
But they have some,
What is
they have
the-
surge
what's-
protectors. and
What's
stuff.
the slogan? Flip the switch and we'll be there.
Yeah.
I think they were a little there, a little
They were there.
strong, weren't they?
Yes. Let's see, where am I? Page 12. Significant overage there, which is a good reason. If you look under the OBW single sort, my understanding of that is we're taking more of the burnable furniture and bulky waste and actually sending that to be burned at EcoMaine, which is less costly than sending it to a landfill. So if you look at the 2 lines right under that highlighted one on page 12, you'll see a significant decrease in those 2 lines. They're only 27% expended. So, Dennis, you can jump in if you have anything else to
Oh,
add.
that's, was one of the things that we no longer haul that stuff to,
Right.
New Hampshire.
EcoMaine wants it to burn it for fuel, for
That's right.
power. We shouldn't have bought that last load of salt down on the bottom of page 12. But I guess we might have needed it had there been another storm or two, so that's what kicked that sand and salt line over a little bit. Next page of crushing. We're all done crushing for this fiscal year. which is a good thing since we spent 99% of the crushing budget there. But if you drive down into the pit behind the transfer station, you'll see a tremendous amount of material there. And we'll use a lot of that this year, but we certainly aren't going to be making any more. Let's see, page 14, general assistance. We did 2 cremations and we had budgeted for 1. That's the reason that's up. Page 15, several items there, the comp plan. Final printing costs, et cetera, have pushed the envelope there. Economic Development Committee, I authorized some additional expenditures that I knew was going to put this line over, and I think, Dennis, you were involved at those meetings for that, in terms of marketing, advertising. You know, they joined the Bedford Soccer Chamber of Commerce, which I think is a smart thing to do, and hopefully that'll provide some benefits. Lake Arrowhead, we have already given them their $3,000, and they won't be getting any more. That's why that's at 100%. And the cable TV costs went up after we had set this budget for $25,000, but that would be done, David. There'd be no more payments on that for the rest of this year. And on the revenue side, pretty short. I really don't, I mean, you can look at the end sheet here, but basically for our non-property tax revenue, we've collected 82% of that, which is about 1.9 million out of 2.3. And for the property tax revenue only, we've collected 9.7 million out of 10.6 we budgeted for. So on the revenue side for third quarter, we're ahead of the 75% marker. I would entertain any questions.
On the revenue side, one thing that I had some difficulty either comprehending or believing is in the area of revenue sharing. Now, the governor spoke last night stating that municipalities have not lost revenue sharing, that it's now under some other name where the money is going to be distributed to people that of a certain income bracket that aren't able to pay their taxes for one reason or another, so that the money is going to be allotted to them, so they'll pay their taxes, so the town is in essence getting that money.
That's a circuit breaker. That's a circuit breaker thing that was.
He never mentioned circuit breaker at all last night. He mentioned.
Yeah, this is called something. Oh, I don't know.
Exemption, I thought you said.
No, it wasn't.
No,
it
it's
exemption,
tax credit something or
allocation or
other.
something.
Yeah, it's
And
a
it used,
brand
but
new-
years ago, was it called the circuit breaker, where we would discount by that much to the taxpayer.
Yeah,
Couple,
this-
I
This
think
is-
the
this is-
last legislative session, they pulled that out.
Yeah, this is not a.
And then, so the homeowner had to file for that money.
Yeah, this is his way of eliminating revenue sharing and putting it just by saying it's called something else. I
Yeah,
don't
and-
understand his philosophy in that, but.
Yeah, so you have it there.
It's not in place yet. I mean, that would have to be that's part of his proposal.
And I look at it right now that if we get revenue sharing, we have that block of money, and we're getting the tax payment from the resident. Albeit maybe there's some difficulty in them paying it, but by and large, most of them pay it. So we have that money, but he's going to take away the revenue sharing, calling it something else, that by saying he's going to redistribute it to those people that are having a hard time paying their taxes, so the town eventually gets it back. Well, I don't really see how that's possible. So, you know, while we're talking about revenue, how do you think that's going to impact our overall revenue structure in terms of whether or not we're going to have to increase the tax rate in the community to make up for that deficit?
Mm-hmm. Two things, I guess. One is, so far, and the session has still got a ways to go, there is no support on either the Republican or Democratic side to reduce the revenue sharing from the $60 million total statewide that we're at now. In fact, there are plans to increase that over time. So I don't see the revenue sharing so far going to zero. That's the governor's plan. We get about $300,000 now. I think the thrust of what the governor was talking about last night, this book is available through the administration, and every town in here has the maximum amount of income tax as well as what he's proposed to cut for year one. We get a little over $300,000 in revenue sharing right now. And in his first proposed tax reduction in the income tax, $1.8 million would be coming back to the residents of Waterboro in income taxes you're not paying. So that's money that's directly in people's pockets. And I think that's what he was concentrating his remarks on. So reduced or eliminate income tax will leave more money in people's pockets. So if the town wishes to raise property taxes, those funds would be there in people's homes. That's the way I read that.
Yeah.
It was confusing the way he said that because
Yeah,
he
it was
led you to
confusing.
believe it was something other than what I just said.
Yeah, he came up with a name for it, and I don't know if it's in the booklet or not. But it was
I thought he was referring to the big picture.
Something redistribution, allocation or something, you know, some,
Did you interpret that as
That's, yeah,
income tax reduction?
Yeah.
There's two things that we get from the state today. Revenue
headache,
sharing
headache.
and homestead exemptions. The proposal was to do away with the revenue sharing. And the homestead exemption, his original proposal was it would go away from anybody that was under 65, and we would double it for anybody that was over 65. I don't know where that part of his thing is working. We get $120,000 in homestead reimbursement. There was a third program that was circuit breaker, and it was based on the amount of income that someone had, and the towns used to administer that by saying that someone would get a break off from the taxes based on their income. That went away from the towns administrating it, or the state reimbursing towns, because people file their income tax. They can claim that circuit breaker, or whatever they call it today. So the town got out of the middle of paying them, or paying the taxpayer that money, or crediting them that money. But that happened a session ago, right? That was in the first 4 years ago, 2 sessions ago, basically, is
Yeah.
when that happened.
Just says that his plan is to double the homestead exemption and protect seniors from local property tax increases by exempting the first $20,000 of home value from taxation. But there was another component to that.
Yeah.
It's local money. It's coming away from local taxes.
Well, you get back to, the threat over the years of, if you don't do this, this, and this, then the state's not gonna give you revenue sharing. So this, and this adds up to more than what we get for revenue sharing. So, you can go buy anything that you want. You get Glenn in here talking about we're supposed to enforce MUMIC now and all of those kinds of things. And if you don't, then you risk losing your revenue sharing. Matt's got to do certain things with training and all of that stuff with firefighters. So all of those things that cost us money today are so that we can keep $275,000. And, I'm on the advocate side of keep the revenue share and leave us alone, right? The problem is that you're never going to get the leave us alone part of it. So,
No, he wants us to regionalize.
well, there's some, and I'm a little bit of an advocate for that, for regionalization, and I think you can do that in public safety with fire and police. But you got to think different. I don't think every small town in York County needs a ladder truck, but we all got them. So I think there is an opportunity to regionalize some of that stuff, but you got to think different than what we do today.
His idea of regionalization is eliminating all of the public works directors and only having, 16 across the entire state.
Well, you can do that if you run the municipal DOTs like you run the state DOT and never fix anything.
Yeah.
You don't need somebody if you're not going to spend any money on it.
In Maine, when it's legislated to cooperate with neighbors, it doesn't work.
Look at what happened
However,
with the schools.
when the need is, and the schools are a prime example. However, leaving people kind of be, there's financial pressure, and you start thinking about how you can do it cheaper, how you can share. So when it comes from within, it works, and there's been a fair amount of that done in the past. It just needs to be continually explored, you know. But once it comes from the state, you shall do this. Doesn't last very long.
Well, it all comes, I mean, let's face it, the cost of running a municipality today is driven by, predominantly through legislation, which is driven by the insurance companies, the professional public safety people. I mean, if you look at those higher level organizations, they're the ones that are driving for those kinds of changes. I mean, you talk to Matt about throwing hoses and tanks and stuff away because there's an age limit on them instead of, does it pass the test? If it passes the test, it's a good piece of equipment. But you got a state law that says, oh no, if it's you know, past a certain age, you throw it away. I mean, those things go on and on and on. So it's an endless thing here of how, you know, I think it's nice to say let's do some of those things, but I think that horse has already left the barn, right? It's like now we're trying to shut the door, and we've got so many requirements, and you're going to see more of it with stuff.
All right, so does that answer your question, Gordon?
Well, it clarifies some things. I don't know if it answers, you know, how we're going to make up money outside of getting increased taxes coming in here, or getting some economic development, which brings me around to the point that you made earlier about that broadband, is that that's, I think, going to be a very big drawing card to get some types of businesses to come in here, because the governor did speak to that last night too, about some of the companies that they were trying to attract to the state of Maine that went elsewhere because of, among other things, which was you know, the tax rate, but among other things was the broadband capability.
Economic development, in my opinion, in this town is driven by one word, and it's called resources. That's our infrastructure of roads, broadband, any one of those things that you talk about of infrastructure, control, water, sewerage, all of those things go into really one bucket. Is, you know, you want a mini brewery in town? They can come in, do a, you know, the homegrown breweries and stuff. Oh, they need 30,000 gallons of water a day, right? And we got what did we hear the other night? A maximum of 60,000 or 50,000?
Pushing it for
We're
70.
at the max. So, you know, there's, and broadband is the same thing, you know. Well, if you're on a back road here, you can have DSL, you know, I mean, it's...
Part of it comes down to mentality, you know, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're willing to take some risks and put in some money out front that it's going to work, or if you're tight-fisted and don't wish to take any chances whatsoever, in which case you'll tend to miss the boat for those people that are the entrepreneurs. So, you know.
But the broadband thing, those municipalities that are working those and doing that stuff in those municipalities are doing it on their own dime. Yep. And you got to look at it, is it worth investing $50,000, you know, to do those, or $100,000 to do those kind of things for the potential of bringing in
$50,000 per mile.
you know, well, it's not cheap, right?
No. And there's grant monies available, but a lot of those grant monies are dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
So. All right, so we all set with that?
We're all set with
Move
that.
on to the rest of the agenda. All right, so Gary, thank you for getting that review ready. Discuss vote to appoint a selectman as representative to the Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. former selectman David Woodson was our representative to the Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. With him moving on to the senator's position, that leaves a vacancy here, and we do have to have a selectman as a representative. Do they have their annual meeting set yet? Is that in May
It's
sometimes?
in June, I think.
June?
Yeah. I think they picked the day, but I don't think I put it in here. No. Oh, June 24th. Wednesday, June 24th,
Wednesday, is that a 5 PM?
5:30. 50th anniversary.
June 24th. If nobody's interested, I wouldn't mind volunteering for that.
I'll be
I'd be
gone.
I move
interested
that,
in
move that.
nominating you.
I'd second that.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
All those in favor? All right. So, Gary, I guess you and I will be making that trip,
We
huh?
got a date, yeah.
All right. Discuss vote to accept a committee member resignation. So we have a resignation letter from Charlie Drapo on the Road Review Committee. What's the pleasure of the board?
I will move that we accept Charlie's letter of resignation and thank him for his service.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, we also have regarding committees, an application from Corey Woodsum to become a member of the Economic Development Committee. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'm very enthusiastic about Corey being on that committee,
Yeah.
and therefore I nominate him.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? So Christina, if you want to get in touch with Corey. Discuss vote to schedule a public hearing on the proposed municipal budget. So under the charter, we have to have a public hearing on the proposed budget. And I'm sorry, I didn't look beforehand. Is it within 30 days of town meeting?
I think so.
Is it within 30 days or at least 30 days?
I think it's, yeah.
Well, it's the deadline for delivery to you.
Well, let's do it within 30 days, and then it becomes a moot point,
Well,
right?
I'm thinking, we've got the 12th or the 26th of May. Those are our 2 May meetings.
Excuse me.
Yep,
I know there is something in the charter that says the warrant has to be posted on the website within 21 days of town meeting, so I don't know if that.
I think it's 30, I was just looking at that a minute ago. Let's see. Section 207, oh, 21, you're right, yeah.
that's the posting.
Don't
of the
ever
warrant.
question her.
Oh, and look at her
No,
smirk.
last time.
I wouldn't say that.
I mean, my preference would be the 26th, which gives us time to get all of the revenue pieces in line, get, the presentation together and whatnot.
No, it's not like it's gonna change.
Right.
I mean, it's finalized, it's gonna be, it's just really a reading or an overview of the town meeting, right?
Yep. So is the 26th acceptable to everyone?
I'm good with that, unless there's some procedural reason to do it sooner.
Chairman Gerard,
Yes.
would you approve the warrant at your May 12th meeting and then do your public hearing at May 26th?
Yep. Okay, so is there a motion to schedule that public hearing on May 26th?
There is.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, it'd be nice if we were to post that on our website, the document itself, so that people have the opportunity to look it over before they come to the public hearing.
Well, if we have we'll vote on May 12th to approve the warrant, so then as soon as we approve the warrant, it can get posted online.
And we are probably 98% done with the warrant. We could even post it as draft, and the budget is essentially ready to be put on the website too. So
Good.
When is candidates meet?
May 14th,
May 14th. At what time was that?
7 p.m.
7 p.m.?
Moving on, old business. Discuss vote on whether or not to schedule a public hearing on the proposed highway entrance ordinance. So Natalie has gone through the original ordinance proposal that we presented at the public hearing at our last meeting and made the changes that we asked for. So the question is, we also had an email from the road review committee with some comments on Natalie's suggestions.
So here's my suggestion. I know we get Natalie's stuff and the road review. You know, I mean, there was significant presence here, driven predominantly from a letter that was published by, or at least a notice. We should address these issues, right? For the public hearing, right?
a lot of them have.
Okay, but if they have been, or if they are true, and that's the requirement, then we should say that. But I think, if not, we're gonna go through this whole iteration again of, if you change this, we're gonna have to do this, right? So I think you take this, even though it might have been some stretches or falsehoods or whatever the case may be, but there was some truth to this, right? I mean, the problem is the language that was in the ordinance was open and ambiguous, so that somebody could say, you're gonna have to put a basketball hoop up, you're gonna have to get a change, right? And they were right, because there was nothing that said that, even though the intent wasn't that. So I think you gotta maybe distill this down to, these were the issues that were brought up by the public. And
This is how they were addressed.
right, I mean, and did we address those? So I think as we put that together, that really has to be what we present at the public hearing. The ordinance is the ordinance, but I think we have to at least address the concerns that were presented by, I
We
mean,
do a PowerPoint, like, right up front.
80% of the people that were here were driven here by this,
Yep.
right? So
I think that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
So, again, you're recommending that,
well, I think we can do the public hearing. I just think that we need to have
our recommendation?
our act together,
Yeah.
right? And represent that, hey, we had a public hearing, these were the issues that came out of it, this is how we've addressed them, this is how the language changed, and now we're presenting that at the next public hearing.
This is, and this is the board's position on this?
Right.
at
Here's
that public
here's
hearing.
what the board is presenting now as the ordinance.
Yep.
All right, so how about this? Our next meeting is May
Workshop.
12th. We'll have it on the agenda. We could do like a workshop at the tail end of the meeting. I'll work with Gary to kind of do what Dennis suggested, distill all of this and put it all together in a package. And then if everybody's good with that on the 12th, we'll schedule the public hearing on the 26th. So that would give us 2 public hearings that night, one on the driveway ordinance and one on the town warrant.
If we're gonna take comment from the road review committee, do we ask the planning board for their comment as well?
I would say no. This is the road review committee's ordinance. The planning board commented, we took their comments, but this is road review's ordinance.
Okay.
I mean, that's my thought.
I think there's probably no value in going back and forth anymore. I think it becomes a point of,
Yeah.
let's put the language together as modified or changed by Natalie and addresses the issues. I mean, that's why you have the public hearing, right, is to address those issues. So think we're beyond going back to the planning board and getting more input, because it's either gonna be the same or it's gonna be, I mean, it would have
I'm
been.
sure a lot of it's gonna be what was presented in that
Sure.
so-called anonymous letter that was,
We'll send it to them, Gordon.
Huh?
We'll certainly send them
Yeah.
the updated document to the planning board.
yeah.
You know, they're invited to come participate at the public
That's right.
hearing,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I don't think you want to keep them coming up with their piece. We know at least I feel I pretty much know where their stance is. And
I
I'm
think you gotta-
sensitive toward part of it.
Bring Glenn in a little bit to this, because he had some, I don't know if all of these issues, or he had different issues, because we never really had that out, but, there might be some value in having him and Gary and Tammy Jo sitting and addressing all of those issues that encompass this thing. Now, we're not gonna satisfy everybody, but the fact of the matter is we can at least say, this is what we did to address it. We didn't do it, and these are the reasons that we didn't change it. I think you just have to say that, hey, this is where we are, and
And I think what Natalie came back with, I think having Natalie here to hear the concerns herself was very beneficial because I think she walked away with a clear idea of where the residents had heartburn with it, but yet where we wanted to come. So I think that she did a really good job of creating something that was a compromise. Like Dennis said, we're not going to please everybody with this.
no, and I think we have to look at, what are we really trying to control? We're controlling the entrance. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's a 1.5 mile long driveway or what you do after you go to the entrance, right?
Right.
But if you're gonna put an entrance onto a town road, this is how it has to be constructed. These are the things that you have to worry about.
Could we burn a copy of that before you go tonight, please?
I guess so.
I don't know that I still have
Oh, there
one.
was hundreds of them around.
Yeah, well,
I had that from that night.
I think they were flying over them and dropping them like chew
Yeah.
oil leaflets.
They had a helicopter.
There were a couple things on that, just one, creating a committee to hear requests with a member from the planning board, a member from the board of selectmen, a member from the road review, I believe. Anyway, I liked that. And there was one area where they mentioned, the road review committee mentioned a 15% variance would be, could be discussed as far as sight line, and to once again put 15% on that. I had some problems with that. I will bring that up, but
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to see that open for
Yeah,
discussion.
the struggle if this goes to the ZBA, the struggle is what the ZBA has the authority to do. And at this point, they don't have authority to do much.
Yeah.
we haven't told them what they should or should not do either.
I mean, you
It's an
heard Sean
administrative
say
appeal,
that,
that's it.
that he was here, right? I mean, it's either, so if there's some flexibility in there, we're gonna have to design that into the language.
Yeah. That 15% takes out any flexibility. It just kind of backs it off 15%.
Right.
Puts you through a whole process to get 15%.
And that 15% is so arbitrary. I mean,
Yeah.
15% of what? And
15% of that table in the ordinance, but my question is, do we want to prevent having to say no to anybody and go the more liberal way of saying you can make the best of the worst situation and always get a driveway permit? There may be some situations where you don't want to issue one, you really shouldn't. But I
Yeah,
think,
but that should be the exception, not the rule.
That's right.
And I think unfortunately, this looks at that as the rule, not the exception, right?
I wouldn't go that far, but I think we can loosen it up some with more discretion on Public Works and or ZBA.
I know Kennebunkport, I think, has more of these around than I've seen anywhere. They have mirrors on the telephone poles, so as you come out of your driveway, I mean, you can see.
There's a lot of those showing up in Waterboro too.
So I mean, is that a viable alternative?
Yeah, and then the plow truck goes by and mows it, and then who's
Oh, no,
responsible
these things
for
are
it?
high. They'd have to have one giant wing that would get to get that.
I think individuals are putting those up, aren't they? Not the town.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
I think individuals are putting that up.
So,
I wouldn't want the town responsibility on those.
all right, so, pending decisions, we'll sit there. The week's action list.
Chairman Gerard.
Yes.
Minutes.
Oh, sorry, entertain a motion to discuss vote to approve the minutes of the April 14th regular meeting.
Did we bypass old business already?
No,
Oh,
we just
We
did
did
at
it.
the driveway. Can I speak to old business just for 1 minute?
Which need,
What is our current status, if there is any, on, I know, well, a year or two ago, maybe even longer than that, we had Lee Burnett in here to speak to us about some grant monies that were available for, to develop some mountain bike type trails and so forth, so we could promote that activity as using our resources of Waterboro. And I'm just kind of wondering where that is. It sort of fell out of the discussion. And
well, I know that the grant money's expired, that there was some discussion with some of the local recreation clubs, and it was difficult to come to an agreement with utilizing those grant monies because of the restrictions that went along with them. But I know that there was some discussions with some of the local recreation groups that they could utilize those funds, in turn helping to create the bike trails, but it was somewhat exclusive. And I don't know what happened to it from there.
Today, Tuesday. Yesterday, I went to a trails meeting at Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission whose task is to try and do a countywide trails map. Monumental task when you're going from Parsons Field to York.
what type of trails? Is it just snowmobile?
For the
or
moment,
ATV, or-
it's pretty much only snowmobile and ATV approved trails. In fact, some of the water district properties, they allow day use on their properties, but they don't want those roads and trails put on a map. That's another problem. So Lee Burnett was there, and I think he can find some additional single-track mountain bike type trail monies. It's not huge money to make those. But for the moment, that mapping project pretty much consists of existing ATV and snow sled trails. And even that is huge, because you can take a mountain bike and go out on any snow sled or ATV trail and be just fine. You don't have to create a new one. And you can go pretty much crisscross the county if you're a little ambitious in doing that. Not going to be on a good GPS map, though, not yet. It's a long ways away from there. Because a lot of these agreements, you get, 1 to 3 years on your snow sled landowner agreements, and the same thing with ATVs.
But then they can revoke them at any time. You know, you say you've got a 3-year agreement, and then after one season, the landowner can cut you off, or mid-season, the landowner can cut you off.
If ownership changes and they don't like snow sleds or ATVs, they can just put a stop to either one.
Yep.
That's not going to change. So.
I mean, I can see some, not animosity, but some hesitancy on the part of ATV and snowmobile clubs to not really want mountain bikes using those trails, because it's all their funds that have gone to grooming and, you know, building of the bridges and stuff like that. So there would need to be some type of contributing factor from the mountain bike enthusiasts to contribute towards that trail maintenance issue.
Maybe if usage increases dramatically, but now it's a piddly amount of damage and maintenance that they would be causing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people using those trails for mountain bikes in large numbers, like I hope we get to someday.
Yeah.
And then it would need to be commercially
I
viable.
want to try to keep it close to the bubbling surface rather than let it sort of, you know, sink to the bottom here. Just
Yeah.
keep the dialogue open.
The environmental impact of a mountain bike is not
No, it's
not anything like.
Yeah.
Thank you,
the
Madam Chair.
ATV.
So week's action list, we'll get in touch with
Minutes.
Oh, jeez. Entertain a motion to sign the minutes for April 14th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay.
How about the one article that we added on the letter? Did we have an article?
One second, when you do that.
Yeah, that's right, you did as an item.
Yep. So we have, I gave everybody a copy of the letter. So I would entertain a motion to approve sending of a letter regarding a personnel matter.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you, Dennis, for catching that.
Yes, thank you.
All right, week's action list. So you're gonna contact Corey about the EDC appointment. I have the letter, we'll get that mailed out. For our next meeting, we'll get the agenda item that Gordon requested regarding the football field. So Gordon, maybe you could get a hold of the, whomever it was that spoke to you, and maybe have a conversation with Mike D, give him a heads up
Okay.
about it. I think we need to send something also to Southern Maine Planning to let them know who the new representative from the Selectmen is going to be. The agenda questions are done. Discussion of agenda items. So for May 12th, we'll have the driveway ordinance workshop at the end, so I'll get that ready. I'll work with Gary and Glenn, and we should probably include Doug in on that. We've got the football field issue. Anything else?
Approving the warrant, town
Warrant.
meeting warrant.
Yeah, that's important.
Chairman Gerard, I'm just curious, is there any discussion about changing the title of that ordinance? I know that was brought up, instead of calling it highway entrance, to call it driveway.
No, and I keep calling it driveway, just have it.
Maybe we can put it in parentheses.
Yeah. Anything else for May 12th?
Do we want to talk about changing that? Do you think most people would prefer that as a title?
I guess we can tackle that on the 12th.
Yeah, think about it.
Anything else? I'm sure something will come up between now and then. Items needing signature are the minutes of April 14th, and our reminders will scroll after the conclusion of our meeting. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you and good night.